So the first step in gutta making is the oats. Sort of importantly, pinhead or steel cut oats, not rolled oats. Rolled oats are an entirely different thing and do not work in gutta. So we're just gonna take our container of oats here, 5 cups, into large pot. Add in about 8 cups of water. You have to check through cooking, sort of water levels, and might have to add some water. The goal is not really like oatmeal. It's cooking the oats more like a sticky rice. So actually I've done this before in a rice cooker. That's my alternate method of cooking these oats. Rice cooker works pretty well. If I were being true to grandma's recipe, I would be using a double boiler here, but nobody owns a double boiler, and nobody needs a double boiler, right, Britt?
I have a double boiler.
Do you have a double boiler?
I do have one, but we're not going to be able to make much gutta in my
No, they're all tiny, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like making hollandaise sauce or something, you're gonna use a double boiler, but not for gutta. So first step, 5 cups oats, 8 cups water. Turn on heat. Just get it up to a boil, and then we're gonna reduce it down to a low simmer. And it's just sort of check water levels, check oat tenderness, play it by ear. It's cooking oats in not really the general fashion you would. So it's like sort of difficult to find recipes for. Then in here, I'm gonna chop up rough chop 4 onions, and the only other thing that goes in there, and one of the most important flavorings in gutta, is bay leaves. So we're gonna put a bunch of bay leaves in there. We're probably gonna leave them in the entire time and leave it up to the end eater to pick them out. At least that's what that's what grandma would have done. Not fished around for all 8 bay leaves and tried to mess around with that. So gutta is, and it's pronounced getta or gutta. It's not pronounced in any sort of German way. It is getta or gutta. But getta is a uniquely Cincinnati dish. It's a German immigrant dish, but it doesn't, so far as anyone can tell, exist in the same way in Germany. This is a Cincinnati German immigrant dish, and it's sort of like one of those poverty dishes, right? So it's making a breakfast meat out of or extending a breakfast meat by using oats. Something cheaper than the meat, right? So that's sort of what it's about. There are a couple of not a couple. There are multiple different recipes and incarnations of gutta through Cincinnati. There are like two big commercial brands in Cincinnati, Glears and Queen City. Queen City, yeah. But if you go to any little small butcher shop in the city, and in particular anyone that has some German heritage, nice. You're gonna find their homemade gutta recipes. So this is my mom's homemade recipe. So there are a couple of different ways to treat gutta, and one of them is sort of more like a bologna or something, where you would cook the oats and the meats together, and for a long time, and the spices, and then afterwards you would refrigerate in loaves, and when you're ready to cook it, you would cut slices and fry them up in loaves. That's sort of the way that both Glears and Queen City Goetta is. But a lot of the smaller family recipes are actually raw recipes. So you cook the oats and onions and whatnot, but then you mix in with spices and meats that are raw, once the oats have cooled. And then you cook from there. You put it in a pan and fry it up for breakfast. So that's what my recipe is. Just sort of rough chop these onions. They're gonna be cooking, probably for hour and a half with the oats. So they'll sort of start to fall apart. And then you get a little texture in the finished dish, the onion texture. All right, so. And then bay leaves. 1, 2. You're supposed to use an odd number of bay leaves. Even number. Yeah, isn't there some like superstition about it?
I don't know that one.
Well,
I love the flavor, so
that's
let's go
6,
with the maximum.
7, 8. Let's call it 9. So just give it a stir and lid back on until it's boiling. We will reduce heat to very low simmer and go from there. The next part of Goetta making is the meat. So Goetta is generally pork and beef, and something like a beef chuck roast or round roast would be great, and then pork shoulder. So this looks a lot like sausage making. So this part of Goetta is like making breakfast sausage pretty much. The general ratio is about 1 pound to 2.5 cups of oats. So we did 5 cups of oats. So we're gonna do 2 pounds of each of these. This is like a 7-pound shoulder. So I'm gonna take roughly 1/3 of it. And then we just want to dice this up, cube this up, because we're gonna run it all through a meat grinder. So generally like 1-inch cubes work best for, running through a meat grinder, although meatyourmaker.com sent us a meat grinder to use that looks like I could probably jam anything through it. So I'm not gonna be too worried about making this small enough for our meat grinder because our meat grinder looks giant. This meat's been sitting in the freezer for about 30 minutes or so. Before you grind meat, you want to get it down sort of not frozen, but partially frozen enough where it firms up a little bit. It really helps with grinding it. The fat doesn't get all gummy. It grinds nicer. So throw it in your freezer for a little bit, but not solidly frozen. Like I said, we have a chuck roast. So this section looks like it's got a little gristle on it, so just gonna cut that out. No need to add it to our mix unnecessarily, right?
Your German grandma did not stare that. That one.
No, I know.
Jeez Louise. Bunch of stuff.
I know, I'm being choosy about it.
It's ground meat, Jay.
I'd be very disappointed. All right, so we have our grinder blade switched over to the fine grind. I'm just gonna kick this guy back on. And there we go. This thing's incredible.
What a nice, what an incredible
I feel like I'm working at a professional butcher shop. Yeah. So Britt pointed out earlier, I didn't exactly explain the goal with the oats. So the end goal is something that just get the oats nice and plumped up. Get them to absorb as much water as you can. Get them tender. Tender is the key. And you do want a little stickiness at the end. You don't want it dry like rice. I said I cook it in a rice cooker, but I don't want it dry like rice. You know, I want some of that stickiness in there, because you're using some of that stickiness to bind to the thing. So that is the goal with the oats. You don't want them wet. You know, you don't want a bunch of water left in there. But you know, nice tender, and still sticky. So, all right. So the next part of the Goetta is seasoning the meat. So Meat also sent us this incredible meat mixer. It is a giant mixer. Can we? I guess I don't need to hold that up to that camera if we got a camera sitting right above it, right? This thing goes together really easily. I'm pretty excited about it. Don't have to try to get things evenly mixed with my hands, which is always fun. So we're gonna put our meat in here. This thing is huge also, so that's great. Meat. Then our seasoning. So a couple of teaspoons of salt. Nice. A couple of teaspoons of black pepper. Then we have coriander. I'll write out ingredients for this, so you know, I'm not really gonna quote them now. About like a teaspoon in there. We have sage, thyme. The thyme, you could use any real like green herb. The sage and the thyme. I mean, I like sage, but thyme could be marjoram just as well. Coriander. And nutmeg. And then a little brown sugar. And a fair amount of garlic. You know, maybe
That's something like 6 tablespoons.
yeah, right. You know, 10 cloves or so of garlic. So then just sort of mix this around, get it evenly distributed. This thing's incredible. Look at this. All right, final Goetta assembly. We have cooled the oats on some sheet pans here. You want them to be cool to cold, not hot. You don't want to cook your meat preemptively here. So in the mixer, we have our ground pork, ground beef, spices. Now we're just adding all our oats here.
Still, Jay, I know you said that we were supposed to pick up
This
on
is like a
ourselves,
DIY, like while you're eating thing.
I can't do it. They have to go.
You gotta dig them out while you're eating.
No, they're gonna get twisted up, and then there's gonna be little pieces.
They stay whole. They stay whole. I promise you. I promise you. There's no more grinding. Yeah. So, you know, the oat ratio to meat ratio, you know, approximate. I'll write it up. We'll have some published numbers, but you know, this is all.
It looks to me
It's
like
all poverty driven, you know. I mean,
this is not baking.
you're adding as many oats as you want to stretch the meat to, but yeah, it's you know, it's probably cooked volume worth, you know, about 1.5 times the amount of oats as meat by volume. You know, no, I have
It
no
looks
clue.
like it.
Yeah. So.
Oh, there go the bay leaves.
There go the bay leaves, Britt. I'm pretty excited about this meat mixer. Normally this is a by hand sort of operation and it gets a little messy. So, you know, the meat mixer, nice touch. Yeah. Good enough. Mix it in. Yeah, right. So I was realizing that when I was mixing the meat, I was just turning it one direction, but I think it actually mixes better if you sort of alternate here. You know, it hits the blades at different angles. You know, it gets it really nice and mixed up. So you want this well mixed, and you want it fairly sticky, sort of like the consistency of breakfast sausage. If it is not sticky enough, you can add like a little water or beer. You know, so if you just, it looks okay. I mean, you know, you could add, you know,
It smells great.
a couple ounces of beer.
Looks great, smells great.
Yeah, right.
A pan, start
Yeah,
frying.
yeah, right. So then, you know, what you could do with this is put it into like a loaf pan and refrigerate it and cut it out to portions.
My grandma did it.
Right, but we're just gonna cook some right up. So
This is the moment I've been waiting for.
let's get this. Let's get it hot first.
Okay.
I like not cooking it like bacon where you put it in the cool pan.
Okay.
I tend to think you heat the pan and then put it in.
Okay.
So fair warning. The pinhead oatmeal explodes violently and will shoot at you without warning.
Yes.
So cooking getta is
Dangerous.
yeah, it has risks involved.
Yeah.
You know, it's like maybe a breakfast food, but you know, sort of like bacon. Don't like wander downstairs and start cooking with your shirt off and in your boxers. It's
It's not usually something I do, so I'm safe.
right. You know, the gutta splatter is worse than the bacon splatter. So
All right.
okay, so we have
Jay,
that going.
Hold on, Jay, though. Let's talk about gutta for just another second.
Yes.
There are two schools of thought. And
Right.
let it be known that the first time I encountered another family's cooking of getta, I was saddened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Jay, I don't know what your family did, but as for my family, we did it crumbled.
Yeah. Right. Right. So yeah, there are definitely two schools
You're
of
not
thought.
a patty family, are you?
No. No.
And I
And
know your mom's name is that, but
right. Right. No, we're more of a, you know, sort of throw it in, it gets loose,
like,
it, you know, gets browned up.
What are we thinking? More like a
Like
a hash.
Like a hash, yeah. Yeah, like a
okay,
hash.
all right.
Hash.
Just making sure, 'cause
Less like a loaf,
you were
more like a hash.
indicating,
Well, yeah, I mean this one, you know, it's sort of partially you play it by ear with the texture of your gutta.
Okay.
You know, if it comes out stickier, it ends up staying in patties. But you know, if it doesn't come up sticky, you know, sometimes it does come up a little more hashy. But you know, in general, I like, you know, brown and turn and, you know,
Brown and
get
turn,
it.
brown and
yeah,
turn.
right.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it falls apart, right?
All right. I'll start managing this. You're gonna move over
All
to
right.
the pan.
Moving over.
All right.
We were ready to go. So, you know, cook until you got some nice brownness on it. And So Britt just did something that I think we need to back up for a second and take a look at. Yeah, that move. Can we get that, Dustin?
Oh, it's on.
Okay. Okay. So there are two distinct schools of thought on gutta eating. Gutta, like I said, there are divisions all over the place. There are two schools of thought: ketchup or maple syrup.
Oh.
Ketchup is the right choice.
You know what though? I think my sister does maple syrup.
The maple syrup thing you tend to see from people who are foreigners. Non-Cincinnatians, non-Germans. So if you see them reach for the maple syrup, they're not doing it right. Granted, it's delicious. I mean, you can't actually go wrong with maple syrup on there. But the right move is drizzle of ketchup. Sort of like, yeah, exactly.
Like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect.
And for me, maybe just a shot of.
I'm impressed with that. I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
Couple little shots.
Yeah, right.
And then also for me, a whole bunch
Come
of ground.
on,
It's
ketchup.
coming out.
Oh, there we go.
Got it? A whole bunch of ground
Perfect.
pepper.
Man.
Yeah. You need
All
one of
right.
these
No,
things?
I'm going straight ketchup.
All right.
Straight ketchup.
Here, hold out your dish for me to see real quick.
There we go.
Jay, spectacular. And truth, I'm gonna tell you, I've never had it where the meat is raw and you cook the meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meat, the way I've always watched my grandma and my mom make it, the meat is boiled with the oats.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Perfect.
spectacular.
Now, my grandma would also serve this with
Fried egg on top?
pieces of white toast, heavily buttered. So
Mixed in it?
nope. You would spoon it on the white toast, the buttered toast, and you would eat it like that.
A toast point.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, right.
I'm loving this.
Right. But yeah, the fried egg, you can definitely put fried egg on top.
You could put this on top of your gravy and biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully, you can put ghetto on anything.
Oh yeah.